My name is Susan Rotman. I'm an assistant professor of anthropology at Özyeğin University in Istanbul, Turkey. And I'm delighted to tell you about our newly funded project, Phoenix, Human Mobility, Global Challenges, and Resilience in an Age of Social Stress. The project is coordinated by myself and my friend and colleague, Soner Barthoma. Phoenix, in a nutshell, is a study of how global changes affect people's ability and willingness for mobility. So, what global changes are we interested in studying in the project? Environmental and climate related impacts are very important, demographic changes, political and economic developments, and sociocultural vulnerabilities and how these impact and are impacted by various changes. And we've chosen the name Phoenix for the project because we're very interested in resilience, in how people build and rebuild their lives in the face of major changes. The project has three objectives: to develop a model for understanding social tipping points, to develop integrated governance models of climate mobilities, and finally, to use human-centric case studies to improve mobility and integration policymaking. Our partners are based in 8 countries: Sweden, Austria, Turkey, Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, and South Africa. And we cover 4 regions: Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and South America. So this is going to enable the project to look at a diversity of global changes and also to look at some social tipping points on a global scale. The Phoenix Project is lucky to draw on the expertise of researchers at some of the top universities in the world. We also have civil society and NGO partners who are experts in their fields. Now let me tell you about the research design of Phoenix. The project is divided into 5 interrelated clusters. Each cluster is led by a research team.
The objectives of this cluster are to establish cohesive information foundation, develop a unified analytic framework, and promote the seamless integration of all project components. This will be achieved through the creation of a comprehensive database encompassing pertinent information related to migration, including environmental change, governance indicators, economic drivers, and social or cultural factors.
Governance is important, not only as an opportunity for reacting to global changes, but for the role it plays in how we understand and react to them. The linkages between climate change and human mobilities have been a growing concern for global governance communities in recent years. Since 2010, these linkages have been regularly on the agenda at international climate negotiations, and migration governance is increasingly recognising climate change as a driver of especially involuntary movements. But now that climate mobilities have become anchored in these governance conversations, more and more aspects are being brought into the discussions, which are becoming more complex with more actors and more topics on the table. For example, climate and mobility and food, or climate and mobility and health, or climate and mobility and development are becoming increasingly common connections. In this cluster of the Phoenix Project, we will be looking at how actors from all of these distinct policy silos are approaching climate mobilities and start drawing links between them to develop an integrated model of governance.
Cluster 3 focuses on food security and belonging. So one of the topics that I'm very interested in is how food is an important way for people to link to their heritage and community. Now, my colleagues Inci Aksu Kargin and Bushra Soylemez Karakoç are going to talk a little bit about their research in this case study.
Hi, this is Inci. My field of expertise are forced migration, but I focus on Syrian refugees in Turkey. So for this study, I will conduct interviews with the Syrian refugees in order to understand how the 4-year drought in Syria affected the Syrian people's perception of food insecurity and how their livelihoods have changed after the war. And the second point that I will try to understand is that do they experience any food insecurity in Turkey after their migration, and what kind of coping mechanisms they use in order to overcome this problem. Thank you.
And finally, this is Bushra. I'm a political scientist and I specialize on international political economy and development. Under these broader questions of food security after migration, I will research the humanitarian food assistance programs and their impact on food security and practices of migrants. And then I'll also research the effectiveness of food assistance programs.
This cluster on existential crisis and resilience will contribute with an understanding of resilience, coping, and fear of cultural extinction. The theories being used are from resilience research on recovery, adaptation, and transformation, with additional concepts from trauma and critical perspectives from other fields. We will use a sequential mixed method approach where our primary focus is qualitative and adding with quantitative data and analysis. And we will exemplify this through 3 cases, one being historical and contemporary determinants for collective stress and resilience among Assyrians in Turkey, the second one on Venezuelan and Haitian diaspora in Chile, and the third one on food security, belonging, cultural survival, and resilience in Parasopolis and Ribeira Valley in Sao Paulo. We will also contribute with 3 deliverables, a thematic or joint report, a survey report, and a joint article or 2 on qualitative and quantitative data results.
The 5th cluster of the Phoenix Research Project focuses on interdisciplinary knowledge synthesis. Phoenix is truly an interdisciplinary research project. Therefore, in this cluster, we aim to examine the various correspondences between the disciplines studying mobility, global change, and resilience. Our objectives in this cluster is to synthesize the results of the project, specifically regarding climate mobilities and risks, politics of food and mental health, and social cultural transformations. One of the key outputs of the 5th cluster is to propose coordinated interventions that protect vulnerable populations, improve their well-being, and build societal resilience to global crises. The other key feature of the 5th cluster is that it takes inspiration from natural ecosystems and studies how these natural ecosystems rearrange their components to be more resilient in the face of shocks and changes in their environment.
Phoenix is an interdisciplinary research project combining disciplinary expertise in earth, climate science, sustainability studies, political science, sociology, psychology, anthropology, law, human rights, and gender studies. Phoenix Research and Impact Framework is designed to develop a holistic approach organized through scientific, policy, and societal impact strategies. Phoenix will establish country-specific stakeholder expert panels and climate mobilities and resilience platforms, which bring together local stakeholders, municipalities, civil society actors, citizens, and the scientific community to reflect upon and contribute to the project outcomes. Additionally, Phoenix will organize digital art galleries and develop videos and podcasts